thriving, playing, living life to the fullest. Our mission for Kansans since 2003. We are Kansas Spine and Specialty Hospital, proudly supporting KPTS, Public Television for Kansas.
The following program is brought to you by TZ Productions, celebrating KPTS's nearly 50 years of community support in South Central Kansas. Great starts here on KPTS.
Support also comes from viewers like you. Thank you.
It is time for Hatteberg's People.
Work I was interested in was just to see if his brain anatomically was like everybody else's.
Did you know the greatest mind of the 20th century was kept in a jar in Kansas for years? It's the time Larry interviewed the man, literally, with Einstein's brain. That's coming up.
Also,
oh, it's a great feeling. I mean, there's pretty much nothing better than that. You can't ask for anything better.
this St. John man was doing incredible things with a bow and arrow back in 2011. His amazing feats got him international attention and millions of online video views. Then the unthinkable happened.
Discover why the arrows suddenly stopped flying. Plus,
if they think Kansas is boring and flat, they don't know Kansas. Kansas is completely exciting and different than most people think.
it's Kansas wildlife as seen through the eyes of a young biologist from Fort Hays State University. You'll learn what excites her so much about the natural state of our state. Hello, I'm Susan Peters.
And I'm Larry Hatteberg. Those stories and many more are queued up and ready to roll. Hatteberg's People starts right now. These stories are like old friends. Their lives radiate from the screen like prophets of the past. They were teachers, but not in a classroom. Instead, they taught about life to those around them who cared to listen, and I was their student. Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in. Now we start with the story of a Kansas man with two brains.
Yes, he had one in his head, of course, and the other one in a jar of formaldehyde.
Now that second one was the brain of all brains, the one that figured out E equals MC squared.
How can't you make up your mind?
That's the trouble. I can't make up my mind. I haven't got a brain.
The scarecrow needed one. Stan Laurel wanted a better one.
What'd you strike that match for? I wanted to see if the switch was off.
Dr. Lawrence Harvey has two of them, his and the one he keeps in a pickle jar in a closet.
It might bother some people, but, you know, it's just a jar of pieces.
Living in a small apartment near the University of Kansas campus in Lawrence, Dr. Harvey's pickle jar contains one of the greatest minds of this century. This is Einstein's brain.
I was the pathologist in the hospital where he died.
Dr. Harvey was doing research into the brain at Princeton University, where Einstein taught. When he died, Harvey was selected to do the autopsy.
Work I was interested in was just to see if his brain anatomically was like everybody else's, and so far as I could make out, it is.
For the past 40 years, Harvey has been the custodian of the brain.
Yeah, these are what we call blocks. They're pieces of brain embedded in the material.
Einstein had wanted his brain donated to science, as this old newsreel shows.
His brain, willed to science at his request, was found to be no different than less gifted men.
Nobody knew what we would find. It was just a matter of studying this great man's brain.
For years, scientists have wondered if there's something about Einstein's brain that caused his brilliance.
Albert Einstein, the Isaac Newton of the 20th century.
Slicing it into parts, Harvey offered it to other institutions for research. A California research group found that Einstein's brain had an abundance of cells that nourish the brain's nerve cells. Could that have accounted partially for his brilliance? No one knows for sure.
Well, here's a bigger chunk of the colloidin. with many pieces in it.
In the 1970s, Einstein's brain resided with Dr. Harvey right here in Wichita.
At that time, the brain was right there in my office, in a box under some other boxes. Nobody would know that that's where it was or what it was. It's not for sale. It's not to be used for anything but scientific study.
What Harvey does know is that this brain has been his life's work, a chance to learn more from a man who changed the world with his mind. Now that was 1994. In 2007, Harvey passed away. Now his heirs donated the pieces of brain to the National Museum of Health and Medicine in Silver Springs, Maryland.
Isn't that incredible?
It is.
Right here in Kansas.
Yeah, it was stunning that he had it there, and when he showed it to us, you just can't believe Einstein's brain right here.
Had to have been really weird when he said, "Here it is."
Well, there it was, you know, and it's kind of stunning.
Yeah.
Well,
Now to a Kansan who is on the fast track to fame and fortune. He could do amazing things with a bow and arrow.
yeah, it was indeed something to see. This story is from 2011. Take a look, and then we'll tell you why it all came to a screeching halt.
Basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a clay pigeon, I'm going to put it on my shoe, I'm going to kick it up in the air, then try to draw it down and shoot it. And that's how you do it.
On the western Kansas plains in St. John in Stafford County, 26-year-old Heath Getty is becoming something of a legend. Growing up on a farm, his dad knew when Heath was 4 years old that his hand-eye coordination was something special.
I took him out to shoot 22s, and the barrel was so long and heavy he couldn't hardly balance the gun. But when he pulled the trigger, the target it went down.
I'm going to toss this quarter up in the air and shoot it.
So on a field near St. John on a windy Kansas day, Heath did just what he said he would do. The quarters bear the scars of the bullet.
The harder the shots, the more fun it is, I think.
So he took up another challenge. Heath and his brother were shooting clays with the pistol for fun. But then Heath had an idea.
I was like, well, I might be able to do it with my bow. And I ended up pulling it off, and then I just kind of went crazy with it. Basically seeing that arrow fly up and stick something, you know, or chase after it, like the clay, you know, when it chases after that clay and just blows through it. I mean, that's something I just think it's neat to watch. I just keep challenging myself more and more. After I, you know, hit something difficult, I'll go on to something a little bit harder.
And the world is noticing. In the last 2 weeks, a German video crew spent 2 days with Heath taping a segment for a national show to be shown on German television. Terry Spradley with the St. John newspaper took these photos. Now, about Heath's bow.
This is a Hoyt carbon matrix. This is actually their 2010 model. This is all made out of carbon fiber.
And how about the tension, the pull?
So it's only 70 pounds for about, you know, not quite the full draw. It's only about half, and then it breaks over. Oh, it's a great feeling. I mean, there's pretty much nothing better than that. You can't ask for anything better.
For Heath, this is the joy. Whether it's a tennis ball or a quarter or clay pigeons, Heath knows he's perhaps on the cusp of a new sport. Now, he doesn't get a hit every time, especially in the Kansas wind, but on average, this young man is pretty hard to bet against.
Just like that. I'm always happy to come out and shoot stuff. It's my favorite thing to do.
In St. John, on the days we picked to shoot, this was the wind. And any hunter knows how the wind affects the arrow. Just take a look at Heath's shirt. And while he didn't hit every time, hitting one at all seemed like a miracle.
I basically live for that, so there's pretty much nothing better.
Now, everything was going great for Heath, and then in 2016, he had a terrible accident with a table saw. This accident left him blind in his right eye and brought an end to his archery career, at least for the time being anyway. Heath is now trying to figure out how to overcome that challenge and hopes to start shooting his bow once again very soon. This guy was so good. He's going to overcome this challenge.
I know he will, and we'll have that story when he does, right?
We sure will. You bet.
Okay, as the old saying goes, it ain't over till it's over. That goes for Heath Getty. It was also true for Jan Messman.
Now, Jan decided to pursue a goal she had abandoned 50 years earlier, and in 1996, she achieved it.
We had always talked about my going back to school, and my parents always said, "Oh, you'll finish someday." So I decided, well, someday had come.
On the campus of Wichita State, Jan Messman is finishing a dream she started in 1946, getting a business degree.
It was wonderful.
In the 40s, she had married, started college, then became pregnant. And in those days, pregnant women stayed home. Well, the years went by, and for decades, this was her life, her husband Dean, and her 3 sons.
My husband died in August of 1991. And by January 1st of 1992, I knew that I had to do something that would be a challenge and worthwhile.
Well, she just couldn't sit home and knit because that wasn't her style. So she went back to school.
And thoroughly enjoyed being back in school and on campus. And it was always a thrill when you were walking down the hall and somebody'd say, "Hi, Jan," and I'd look and here was this young person that had recognized me from the class.
But there was more to learn. At home, a manual typewriter graced her study area. It was okay for another era, but not for writing lengthy papers. So she bought a computer and took a class to learn how to run it. In class, she asked the student sitting next to her how to turn it on.
I got to look like, "Lady, what are you doing in this class?" And I wondered, too, why I was there.
And there were other times she wondered if she was doing the right thing, but her sons were her cheerleaders, and Jan found she could do it, and do it well.
It was just like, oh, here I am, and I'm alive, and I can walk all over this campus. I'm healthy enough to do it. And I can enjoy all these young people. It's kind of a mind-stretching experience to look up at that sky and to just think, oh, this whole thing is mine. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Jan Messman is winding down her studies, but not her life. On May 18th, she'll finish something she started 53 years ago.
God gave me strength to do it, and I did it.
Wow. That is incredible. You go, Jan.
Yeah,
never too late.
For her, age was just a number.
Yeah.
That was what it was. Well, after graduating, Jan began a career with H&R Block. She worked as a tax preparer for several years. In 2017, though, she passed away at age 92. But just her going back to college at that late age in life, so proud of her.
And beginning a career in her mid-70s.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
I love it. Love it. Okay, the woman in this next story was a graduate student at Fort Hays State.
Yeah, but her classroom was 41,000 acres in Barton County, the largest wetland in the interior United States.
As a sort of little piece of heaven, it's out in the middle of nowhere. It's so different than what people think is Kansas.
Jessica Casey is from McCracken, Kansas. Now, she's working at the Kansas Wetlands Education Center at Cheyenne Bottoms in order to get experience working with people and the land.
Just starting out, I've never seen most of the stuff I've seen working here. Most people don't know that this is the flyway area, and Cheyenne Bottoms is one of the most important parts of the flyway because it's right in the middle. It's the only place really in Kansas where they can stop.
There's also a place where you can stop to learn more about the area. The Kansas Wetlands Education Center is right next to Cheyenne Bottoms. Here you can interact with the animals of the area and learn more about the migrations. For students from Fort Hays, it is a living lab.
With the graduate students, it's a phenomenal and a very unique program that we can get those students down here that are interested in the biological sciences and provide them something that they oftentimes aren't going to get in any other internship type situation.
Most people who get their master's either work out in the field, but somewhere near campus or in a laboratory. It's totally different where we can come out here and just to get to interact with the people. Most grad students don't get that opportunity. If they think Kansas is boring and flat, they don't know Kansas. Kansas is completely exciting and different than most people think. So if you've lived your whole life and don't know this exists, you need to come here. I don't think I've ever felt as peaceful as I have just sitting out there at the end of the night. Peaceful is definitely how I feel at the end of the day.
Jessica earned her master's degree and now works as an environmental scientist for an engineering and design firm in Kansas City.
Yeah, it's a long way from those 41,000 acres way out west, but I know she's loving it. She was an incredible young woman.
Mm-hmm. All right, now we're going to rewind again, this time to 1994, when Larry met up with an old-timer named Robert Lint.
Now, Bob had an appreciation for the past. This is one of my favorite stories, and a love for the old automobiles of days gone by.
Well, I wished I'd have lived 100 years ago. You bet. That'd have been more fun yet. Because the government wouldn't have been, you know, telling you what to do so much.
In the heart of Danville, Kansas, where the wheat waits for the cutter and the Catholic Church has been the community bedrock, is a man named Robert Lint.
Now this one I'm going to fix up and drive. This one I bought and I want to sell it. It's a pretty straight old 36.
Lint owns 9 buildings in Danville full of collectibles. He bought the depot, the general store,
but this building is stuffed.
And the first house ever built there, and other old structures that house his incredible collection of, well, about everything.
I can tell you every bolt and piece to a Model D and a Model A and a 35 up Ford, Chevrolet or Plymouth. I won't miss very, very many pieces. Gonna make a nice car. Black fenders, Washington blue with yellow wheels.
He's got cars, old tags.
Well, now, I want that, you can't find it.
And bunches of high-quality stuff.
Oil cans now, just those oil cans like that. They're collecting them. A can that has a logo on it. That's a nice can.
Now, you might think he only sells to folks around Danville. Not quite. He has a worldwide operation.
A guy from Finland wanted, he was working on a 24 Buick 4-cylinder. And I had a set of rings for it. And the guy in South Africa, he wanted a 36 standard Chevrolet hood ornament, which I sent him.
And among the stacks, the dust, and the cobwebs, Lint combs through his treasures almost like a little boy, excited about what he might find.
Yeah, I love to keep track of it. I know where it is, every piece. Well, yeah, there's junk, but you pay dearly for it anymore. Here's a 51 Packard. I bought it in Wichita, and I drove it home. 8-cylinder, you can't hear that motor run.
It is simply unbelievable what Robert Lint has collected and collected and collected. He lives life his way, absolutely and unequivocally his way.
I get up when I want, eat what I want, do what I want. We go where we want. We buy what we want. What more do you want?
Okay, that's amazing. All these incredible collector cars worth so much money in the middle of Kansas.
That's right, and he sold parts for those cars all the way to Australia and Russia. Really an incredible guy. Now, Bob, as you could tell, loved his life in Danville, and if you go there, you'll still see an old metal shed with a sign on it that says Bob Lint Motor Shop. But unfortunately, you won't find Bob there anymore. He passed away in 2010.
We're going to go to another great Kansas character. Larry always finds the characters. This one from the past. Her name was Pearl Shivers. She ran a charming little cafe in Eureka.
Now, her food, of course, was legendary there. I paid a visit to her in 1991.
I should get rid of the cafe because I'm too old to be running it.
The cafe is the City Cafe in Eureka, and the owner is 87-year-old Pearl Shivers.
Cream gravy?
Yeah.
What else? Thank you, Pete.
If I'd have thought you guys would be in today, I'd have had burritos and chili.
Well, wish you would have.
Yeah.
Pearl calls it a cafe, but it's really not. It's a home, and the customers are just friends over for a visit.
Oh, thank you. Well, now, just like Mr. McKenzie there. He and his wife come in, you know. They live out in the country. They're farmers. Where's the wife?
Oh, she's over here, yes.
I was wondering where she was, you know, if she was all right. I'd say a little town is probably no good for the youth, but for older people, it's more like a retirement home, and still not a retirement home.
Come on, honey. You gonna get one to go?
As the lunch crowd lines up,
Stuffed pepper?
many don't realize this 87-year-old gets up early to cook part of it.
That's it?
I get up about 2 every morning.
You want gravy on your steak?
But she doesn't do it all herself. There are the employees she calls family.
There's more back here. Yeah, more hair.
just look your natural self.
Just look.
My employees are just like family.
You got somebody behind you there. Look at
Look at there, Mother Shivers.
Goodness gracious, see, you're just getting prettier every day. Yeah. You get involved in each other's lives. If they have trouble, you have trouble. If I have trouble, they have trouble.
But when you're eating with Pearl, there's no trouble. What there is a big old piece of pie with your name on it.
I think what we sell more of than anything else is coconut pie.
Thank you. Norman?
They may sell their pie, but what you get for free is conversation with a good woman.
Well, congratulations.
And some ribbing about being on TV.
You'd like to touch her?
Yeah, I might well.
I enjoy people. I'm afraid I'd be awful lonesome in the rocking chair.
Well, it's good to see you.
Now, Pearl lived a good, long life doing what she loved. She finally retired in 1997. Now, Pearl passed away in the nursing home in Eureka in 2001. She was 96, and that restaurant is no longer there in downtown Eureka. So many buildings have come and gone down there. It's really sad.
Yeah, it is. Life well lived, though.
Oh, she had a great life.
She served the public. The man in this next story loves both the green of nature and the blues he plays on his harmonica.
Yeah, he explains how the two are related.
It's a very spiritual thing for me to play music. The blues came from people who worked very close to nature.
Craig Stewart is an arborist for the city of Wichita.
Nature reclaims itself.
He works with the city's forestry program to make sure the stature and beauty of trees remain constant.
You know that when you get up in the morning that you do something that helps people.
20 years ago, Craig left Wichita to find fame and fortune in the bright lights of the music industry in California. He played with the likes of blues legend Willie Dixon and honed his harmonica skills with Frank Zappa and others in the California music industry.
Economically, it never happened for me, but the credentials that I achieved, I wouldn't trade for the money.
Back in Wichita now, his love for nature continues.
And I would like to try to be an ambassador for the trees and for what the forestry department has achieved, and also to share the same type of ambassador work with my music.
And it is his music, his blues harmonica, that you will remember.
I believe the music was created for man by God. for me, my great pleasure was to return back to the home I loved and to share that with people. I can't think of anything more in tune with itself than nature and music.
Craig has just retired from his job with the city, but he'll never give up the music. He plays in a band called Juke Roots Power Trio, and you'll find them performing around the Wichita area really quite often. I actually saw him the other night at Newport Grill.
And he was playing?
He's playing, he's doing what he loves, and he's having a great time.
So cool. Juke Roots something trio.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll look out for him.
You look it up.
Okay. It was another great show. Larry, thank you so much for sharing your stories.
Thank the people out there.
A lot of people appreciate them. And thank you for inviting us into your home once again.
And remember, if you have a question or a comment, please just drop us a line. The address is hattebergspeople@kpts.org. Great to have you with us. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
The preceding program was brought to you by TZ Productions, supporting KPTS and the communities it serves in South Central Kansas. Great starts here on KPTS.
Support also comes from viewers like you. Thank you. Call KPTS to receive a DVD copy of this program for a $40 donation. You can also send a check or money order along with the program name, date, and time to the address on your screen. And you will receive a 1-year KPTS membership.